It is amazing how easy and natural it really is to create and live the life that you dream of. In fact, it's crazy that we even question this, that we doubt this, that we struggle with this. It's indicative of how brainwashed and conditioned we are to believe that we have to earn it, that we have to do something to deserve it, that we have to struggle and strive to achieve it. You see, this is utterly backwards and preposterous. Often I get the question of, how do I be in alignment? How do I get into alignment? How do I be my authentic self? How do I access my true self? And when you think about these questions, you realize actually how kind of ridiculous they are. That we've gotten to the point in our world where we actually have to ask a question, which is essentially, how do I be me? And look, I understand. This is probably one of the most meaningful, significant questions that we can ask, of course. But when we take a moment to contemplate it, we realize that it's actually the question itself that is the problem. Because it would be more fruitful and efficient to ask the opposite question. In other words, how am I not being myself? What does it mean to not be myself? Who am I not? What am I doing that is abandoning, denying, undermining myself? What is out of alignment with who I truly am? How do I know that? How is it that I discern that? What is that sense? What is that knowing within me that can tell the difference between what's true, what's false, what's good, what's wrong, what's in alignment, what's out of alignment? You see, when we take this approach as a kind of deductive approach or a subtractive approach, rather than the question of, well, how can I be more authentic? How can I be more of myself? What can I do more of to be myself? You see, when you really look at the question, it's kind of silly, isn't it? It's like you come into this world fully you. And then you have life experiences and you go to school and you consume media and you get taught lessons by other people, all of which you give significance, and then you take it on. You buy into it. And now you have to fit yourself into that mold. You have to live into that kind of form. That's the way that you're undermining yourself. You're abandoning yourself. You're denying and suppressing yourself. And so the real work is to slow down, become aware, ask yourself, what is out of alignment? What is inauthentic? What doesn't feel true to me? And where am I doing things that I don't want to do but think I need to do in order to get what I want, live the life I want, feel how I want to feel, etc.? Now, this is where it becomes a little more nuanced, because that inner guidance or that inner discernment is most essentially a kind of emotional guidance, right? When it feels good, it is true. It is an alignment. It is kind of like guidance from your higher self, nudging you down the path of least resistance, reminding you of what's true, what's false, who you are, how easy and simple it really can be, and what is your destiny, what is your inspiration, what is your path of fulfillment. But the thing is, though, this is the subtlety with this point, is that in our modern world, we are now taking things such as fear, for example, and lumping it in and assuming that it is simply the wrong direction to go in. That if I encounter fear, then it must not be true. I must be heading the wrong way. But of course, this is not the case. The thing about fear is that in most cases, if you were to slow down and inquire into the experience directly and search your heart for the truth of it, you might find that the fear is actually excitement. It is actually inspiration, but it's being filtered through a limiting belief, or a lack belief, or a sense of unworthiness. You see, this is where it becomes very subtle, and you have to be very honest and very earnest with yourself. This is all an inner game. It is all an inner workings, which is then very easy to look at your circumstances, to look at life, to look at what's going on in your experience, and to just make it black or white, or dismiss it altogether. But so many of the beautiful things that I have done in my life have come through the other side of fear, right? Come through the other side of uncovering, illuminating, feeling into, understanding, and transcending and accepting shame and guilt and a sense of unworthiness and that fear and that doubt and that insecurity, all of these lower frequencies, which are not indications that you're going the wrong way. They're not indications exclusively that you are going in a direction that's not true to you, or that this must not be the right thing for you. In many cases, this zone of comfort is actually a sense of safety. It's a kind of way of protecting yourself, of preserving your sense of self. And in that case, it's a kind of playing small. And so within that small, limited, fear-based survival game, we don't really get to expand. We don't really get to evolve. We don't really get to move outside of the known and experience new realities, new experiences, new relationships. We don't get to develop ourselves and improve our skills and express ourselves fully, and therefore allow for the exchange, that beautiful exchange, which is the source of abundance and freedom and fulfillment in a way of being in the world. If you want to just sit on the couch all day and, feel into those qualities, wonderful. But without the step of taking inspired action and actually demonstrating and living in faith of that state, then nothing really changes. Because it is through that demonstration, which requires that you, in a way, kind of prove or demonstrate to yourself, to the universe, to all that is, that what you think or how you feel is actually an experiential, tangible knowing, rather than just a mental thought. So this is where so many people that I talk to fall short. They think that they've shifted a belief. They think that they've broken through. They think that they've shifted their consciousness. They think that they're in a whole new self-concept. But the way that you know that you've shifted is that there is no gap between the inspiration you have and the action that you take on that. And everything that comes up in that experience of acting on your inspiration, the more willing you are to face it, to understand it, to elevate it to a higher frequency, that is literally the expansion of your beliefs. That is the elevation of your consciousness. That is the acceptance of yourself in all of the facets of you and who you are. And that's where you actually discover who it is that you truly are, your authentic self. It's not done merely, exclusively on a cushion, sitting cross-legged. It's not merely done as a mental thought process. It can be a great start. But if it does not get to the point where there's tangible action, experiential unfolding, the demonstration of what it is that you've come to know, then I think from your experience you can relate that it seems as though something's missing. I must be missing something. I know that something's changed, but nothing else is changing. That's the indication that in a way you're fooling yourself, and it's probably to do with a sense of self-preservation, a sense of safety, a sense of wanting security and this survival of playing small, of playing in the realm of predictability, of familiarity. And that's just simply not going to cut it. And so this is about changing the relationship you have with yourself and all of the energies within yourself and all of the thought forms within yourself and all of the experiences that you have on a day-to-day basis. It's about cultivating a right relationship, an accepting relationship, a forgiving relationship, and a courageous relationship to move forward in the face of fear, in the face of doubt, in the face of insecurity, within that sense of unsafety, and to question and investigate the validity of these experiences, and to discern through the confusion or the subtleties of whether it's genuinely out of alignment or whether it's just resistance, bumping up against that threshold of familiarity, of predictability, of certainty, right? And then seeing the limiting belief behind that threshold, which is changing that inspiration, that excitement, that opportunity into fear, into doubt, into insecurity, which then leads to procrastination, which leads to hesitation, which leads to inaction, which leads to stagnation. Maybe if you feel this for yourself, this is a reminder and an invitation to really honor yourself, to honor your higher self, to honor your soul, to honor life. It is an infinitely intelligent guidance system that is speaking to you, whispering to you all the time through your feelings. If you'd only cultivate a receptivity and an earnestness to discover the truth of the message that it's telling you. But you have to be willing to question everything. You have to be even willing to question your initial response to what you think it is. And really dive into why it is that you think so strongly that that's what it means. You have to be willing to question everything. And this is where the ground starts to become seemingly unstable. And it, understandably so, this is where a lot of people start to ease off or back off, because it's losing all sense of ground. But this is where the real discovery happens, the self-discovery, the self-realization, and therefore the self-actualization as the manifestation of the reality that you desire to experience. And so to face your fears, to uncover your doubts, to find all the ways in which you're playing small, is to actually move through that threshold to find out who it is that you really are. And if you want to find out who you really are, and you want to work with me, and you want to join a group of creators to do this, then there's a masterclass coming up in the next couple of weeks. There's still a few spots left. If you comment masterclass down below, I'll send you a link where you can learn more about it. I'll even send you a discount code. I'm extending this discount for a few more days. So if you're interested in joining or learning more about it, comment masterclass down below.